an art lesson. I could teach art. Oh, no, I don't want to teach art. No, I'm going to do, and I'm going to do like selling them a book, like whatever, it's just you pivot. But the point is that what I think you're starting to realize is a valuable asset to this time, just like so many people, is that figuring out how to be yourself online, consistently providing value to other people, is difficult. Like, and as a whole, as a society, I think we're transitioning into a lot of people asking that question as individuals, and that's because of where we're at in history, like, and where we're at in technology. And if you have, like, having the excuse, oh, I just don't like the tech stuff. Okay, then you'll get left behind. Like, I'm sorry, but this is the way that the world is going, and like in certain ways, and we all have to decide as individuals if that matters to us. If that doesn't matter to you, then fine. But if it does matter to you, then maybe we should all start figuring out ways we're going to engage a little bit better on social media. And so, like, that's just something fascinating to think about. And like, in terms of, I think you had mentioned like something that's so important to just kind of hold close is like figuring out your own journey and what are you in love with? Like, what's your thing? Like, what could you, and this is hard because in business, like, you can do things that are separate from that thing. But if you don't know what that thing is, then it's really hard to do business to try to get yourself to a point that you're like thriving, because you don't know what you're doing it for.
Yeah, and that's where it's funny because I feel like I'm coming up against these these kind of like, I don't want to call them walls, but they're just like these.
No, it's such a good way to describe it.
Like blockers, that are like, okay, like to level up, you gotta like figure this out. And it's like, there's like no way to cheat around it. Like there's no other way. So it's kind of fun to be like exploring this side of myself where I'm like kind of have to be brutally honest, but then there's a way to be graceful with it. And so it's just so interesting, and I feel like the more I can kind of like reach out and just like be willing to ask for help, I just find myself in a different place than where I was, 20 minutes ago, because I've like created this new relationship, just to even it just be a quick, like kind of business type, life type talk. But I mean, it's totally been super helpful. So
yeah, and I think one thing that I could just like as a token like of life, really, like no like, I mean, yes, this is like a business context call, but like just as person to person, you know what I mean? Like something I've discovered is that like falling in love with your own life story is such a way to show compassion to yourself, because it like gives you this perspective, and you're able to look at life, and it's not so zero-sum game. Like, it's not such a it's not. I'm glad you
brought that up, because it's like sometimes I'm like, oh man, like how can I feel like this is great, but it's like part of my brain is like, but you're not making any money. Like the money thing always like comes up, like, oh, you need to be making money.
And here's the thing.
I realized that's kind of like that whole mindset of like just doing a 9 to 5 that isn't necessarily something that you're interested in, and you're just doing it to like pay your bills, but there is no like variable that's in the equation that's helping you get to your happiness. So it's like
absolutely.
And that's the one thing. Gary's like huge about that of just making sure you have some sort of variables in your day to day or month to month, or your goals and everything that are pushing us towards that optimum life, that place where you can wake up and we're in a good mood. So
absolutely. And the thing is that, okay, there's a lot of things you just touched on that are really important, because for one, but I'm glad you did. And like, for one, let's just say this system is designed, and this is something I'm privy to now, to being able to see on like an abstract level, but it's designed so that we only have enough like cheese and crackers to get by for a certain period of time before we have to resort back to some kind of thing that feels like sacrificing our happiness just to get by. Like, it's designed to do that, because if it wasn't, then there would be too many people walking around enlightened and happy, and that would cause them to ask too many questions. Straight up, which is what we've learned this time shows, is like, damn, when you're alone, you can introspect and grow. Like, one thing that's going to be, like, there's a lot that's measurable that's going to be known of this time. But, like, one metric that I'm interested to find will be, like, how many people just had, like, a conscious awakening during this time. And they're like, what am I doing with my life? Who am I? Like, it's a part of our species DNA at this point. Like, it will be, you know? And so that's something that's beautiful to realize. Like, we are a part of that. You asking these questions is a part of that. Us having this conversation is a part of that. The way that our conversation came to be through LinkedIn, just messaging each other quick and back and forth, is a part of that. And like, once you can fall in love with that reality, like, all the other stuff just, and I know that sounds so out there and like minimized or like summarized of the way that things are, but all I can tell you is that I just remember that because it gives me the perspective, and it also liberates, because it takes away a certain level of egoic story that makes me focus all on what's gonna end up happening or what's not enough about what's already happening. And it just makes me feel like I'm watching the movie of my own life. And it's like, oh, in this scene, I'm dropping pens all over the floor. Like, and I'm like up at midnight, you know, like those are the kinds of things that actually are liberating, because it focuses on a present moment and what I can do in a day. And like, every single day is like that. And that's what I hope, that's what I have gained out of watching like Gary Vee's content, is that he really talks about that. And that's something that's very nuanced. And like, I don't think that is as obvious, because everyone is operating in this world just trying to get by. But I don't know what about my experience really enables me to see that perspective on things beyond just the art, like, honestly, because of the nature of what art making has done for me as like a way to see perspective. And that's why it's the thing I can do without making any money at all and being broke on a recurring basis until the day that I'm not, you know? And the thing is, I know that day will come, and it's coming in a lot of different ways, because that's why if anything I could tell you is encouraging you, if anything I could say, and that I hope you take away from this call, honestly, is encouragement for you to do that in your own way, in your most authentic way. Because
thank you.
Genuinely, like, you go for it and do your own thing, because I have days where I hate social media, and I have moments where I get frustrated and like my hands hurt and stuff like that. But I've gained so much just by being, you know, like, another thing that I think is a good way to honestly like summarize or conclude, like, because it's how I began this conversation with you. Something I've reflected on during this time too is the fact that I can just go on the internet and open my computer and put next to my name Renaissance woman kind of thing, and it's true. Like, that's never happened before in history. It wouldn't have mattered. Like, having studied Renaissance people and Renaissance women, there weren't any. There was people who went through terrible things or were like raped and weren't recognized in history. Like, I'm not the first woman to be able to paint the way I do, or to be able to understand art as an asset, or to any of those things. I'm not the first. Like, I'm just a person who is living in this period of time where if I can see past the bullshit, this is a huge if, because there's so much of it. If I can do that and I can dedicate myself to who I want to be and just building that and having no care in the world of what other people are doing with their lives and how they quantify it or what they are able to make it appear like being, or even if it is what it's like and it's not an illusion, it doesn't matter because it's separate from me and my thing, you know? And so, like, just, it's a vote of encouragement because it's a truth of the empowerment of this time and what technology actually can give us if we can stop blaming technology for all of the hard things in life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel really blessed to be able to just even be exposed and be able to have the chance to absorb some of that content that Gary puts out. It's just like it's been so enlightening. But then especially here since the pandemic, it's been like, you know, you can see him completely shifting his like normal routines, and I'm just like, oh my god, I need to too. You know, it's just like, so confidence building. It's been great.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you know, I really appreciate all that you were saying. Yeah, and it's so cool how you're able, to embrace who you are. Yeah, because that was the first thing that kind of like caught my eye with your profile. I was like, oh, she used that word Renaissance, which just has such a like depth to that word.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I just couldn't. And then I learned from Gary here, you know, within the last year or two about how he always talked about how he like would write everybody back on Twitter like as much as he could. And there was like years went by where, you know,
Absolutely.
he was just like replying and just creating messages, but you know, he wasn't really creating a ton like metric wise, but I mean, it was just like,
but he was creating content.
Little at a time. Yeah.
And that's the thing I'm learning, like, as I've been taking notes, like I'm live like on my platforms, like just, you know, 2 people are watching, but like, and hello to those 2 people, like literally honored. Because and I don't take them for granted, like at all.
So cool, yeah.
And I'll hunt down who those 2 people are and message them and be like, hey, what's good with you? Like, you know? And and like it doesn't matter because it's the content documentation, because like what I'm doing, who knows what I'm doing might become something, and then it's a documentation of the time and I can use it as a blip in time. And that's the thing, like, anyone can make content. Like, you can make content, and you know, the thing too, Dave, is like these people that run his company are on LinkedIn. Like, I've befriended people with his company. Like, I've interviewed for positions and shit. Like,
I'm sick. Yeah,
like, but the thing is, like, that those opportunities are out there. So whatever, and it feels like there's so much and that we can't choose, but that's why having laser focus on what makes you happy is important, because the things that do will organically show up for your life. Like, I am a creator, right? Like, that's part of what I do. And so I listen to an episode of Gary Vee and I hear that they have a creator role open. I'm going to pour so much energy into that. And whether I get the role or not, this was my mindset at the time, I'm going to grow so much more. Like, I triple down on my content creation, you know, but I've always been that way too. Like, it's like, if I had a scholarship opportunity or a grant opportunity or whatever, like, I put in a lot of work. You know, I'm working on the notes that I'm taking now. I have a call with the CEO of this really cool augmented reality company tomorrow. And I'm presenting him, like, I'll show you if you're interested in it. I'm gonna scan it and stuff. But like, I'm writing out like what my value prop for his company to the revenues streams that I see. I know that might sound like jargon. Like,
well, yeah. So you're gonna present it with the stuff that you can bring, how you can bring value to.
Yes, and the way I'm framing it is like I'm already a part of it. I'm framing it from his eyes, you know? I'm writing customer profiles, target market, sales and conversions, value prop will very correlated to each customer segment via B. And it's like, my favorite part is like, I'm just drawing and taking notes. So that's like what, and I've already envisioned for myself in my business model, my name, CDK, LLC, you know, what kind of revenue streams for myself, long-term legacy based, do I see myself doing? And VR and AR is one revenue or one medium, one like mode of creation, and corporate consultation is one revenue stream. So I'm just thinking, honestly, even in terms of me, myself, separate from like anyone else's bullshit, like what do I want for myself? So that's the reason why when I'm going into like having a conversation like this, I'm going to take these kinds of notes, because regardless of what anyone else's validation or dismissal of me might say, whatever they like, you know, whether I make money with this company or not, or etc., like I've gained something out of it. And so same thing with Gary's opportunity, and that's humility. That's just having your nose to the grindstone and having no expectations of people. Like it's not like I would, like it would be a whole different story if I was out. Like I have told people and I have posted about what I have been currently doing, only because I thought it might help really like provide value and context to what other people would see when seeing me, you know, like working and seeing me online. Like that does like help understand, but I'm not going to go around and be like, I talked to yada yada today and blah, 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 did this, without like having it be genuine, you know?
Sure.
But yeah.
So cool. Yeah. I feel like I've come a long ways. I had my daughter when I was like 28.
I was gonna ask, how old is Avery?
Avery's she's 7.
Aww.
And
that's like one of my favorite ages. My cousin, such sass, like such attitude, such like they know what they're talking about, like more than you.
I was just gonna say, she like has her capacity to absorb, like concepts has like drastically changed the last 2 years. Like, so that's just like so cool to see that evolve, like getting more to that mind. Like I've come a long ways since she's been born, and just being able to look at things differently and having way lower expectations on things not just involving money, but just like day-to-day life things. And I think it's like helped me out already, just not necessarily in a business point of view, but just like my day-to-day life. And I can tell it's like we're just bettering ourselves, so naturally things are going to get better over time. And I think there was just a time in my life, definitely between like 18 to 25-ish or so, like, oh man, I was like, I feel, looking back on it, I was pretty lost, like no ambition. Just had a lot of emotional hurdles that I like didn't even want to come close to facing. So that kind of led me to a lifestyle of just like running from everything and doing everything like the minimum. But then this life, like what Gary says, being a little bit more accountable, and then
not just a little bit more accountable, not just being a little bit more, being 100% accountable and 0% blame. That's the hard part, and a lot of people do not move past that. And sometimes they're people you love, and it's really difficult. Like that's something I've dealt with a lot this year, because I'm not looking to blame anybody at all. I'm not even looking to blame myself. I'm just looking to take accountability and move forward with what I can, because part of it is just wanting to enjoy life to its fullest potential and letting go of like the scarcity mindset that I won't.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's hard. Like, I do still deal with that. Like, that out of transparency, like, I'm not, like, I think people do get to a point, and I've seen people who have gotten to a point where it's not a problem anymore. Because the reason why is you can program your brain. Like, our brains are computers. Like, you can program your brain to not go down that cycle of thought. You can program your brain to not entertain like cyclical ideas of scarcity and the idea that you're not good enough, and that these are things that we can do. Like, we are able to reprogram and control that, and it's difficult, and it takes a certain level of commitment, but it's possible. And that's really genuinely love. Like, that's actual genuine love for yourself. And it's a lifelong journey, and it's a beautiful thing that you're on that path. And I would say too that, like, maybe right now it seems like having Avery and having your daughter and your family and like evolving hasn't like helped you in a business way, but get back with me in 5 years or even 2 and tell me that that's not true, and I'll be really surprised, literally.
And that's like, I've always like, I just like genuinely always like kids, and then like we have a great relationship, and my wife is the mom, and we got married 2 years ago, but we'd been together like I think like 5 years. When we had Avery, and then so it's funny how like maybe I'm just like overthinking a lot of it, and it's like I'm doing things exactly the way they're supposed to be done.
And that's the thing, like, that's great news, and it's also just reframing it to be great news in your brain, because that's great news. Because one thing that's helped me a lot is like I took improv class before I graduated at UF.
Oh, cool.
And I loved it because there's this one activity that we did, which was red light, green light, but like intense edition. And if you got to red light and you moved, normally you would just be like, okay, damn it, I'm out, right? But in this game, if you moved and you like quote unquote failed, you had to, like, as a rule of the game, shout and jump up as loudly as you could and just be like, yes! And what that does is like, it really fucks with your brain, but it actually has resonated with me for so long. And in moments that I normally or would have used to like viewed as failures, that I would have like gotten angry at myself or impatient or frustrated, like, I just say yes and like approach it with that attitude. And like, it's and it's not every single time, but like, even saying this out loud reminds me like that it's something that you can do, and you can choose, like, in these difficult times, to just be like, I'm joyful and grateful, like, for what I do have. And that is difficult, and I think that doing that work at first is the first step to creating a business. It is. It really is. Like, I know that for a fact. I know that for personal experience. Like, because you can't operate out of fear. You just can't. That's not a business model. It doesn't last. It's not sustainable. But that's what our current world operates under, is fear. And we also know it's not sustainable. And we're trying to come up with new models of thinking. And so we have to unlearn a lot of bullshit. But that's the beautiful thing about like the world that your daughter's growing up in and the world that you're creating for her to grow up in, is that it's possible. And you'll realize that you'll show that through your own experience. And one thing I'll say business-wise, to just train your brain thinking like about businesses, is that the biggest mistake people make, and I've learned this even just going through entrepreneurship school, like, people don't get this. It's not about the solution. Like, it's not your solution that makes a difference. It's you and the problem. What's the problem that you fall in love with solving? And I'll ask people that. I'll say, like, what problem are you in love with? And they don't understand.
Interesting. Yeah, it sounds like an oxymoron almost, or something. It sounds like something.
Well, yeah, but it's not, though, because if you think about it, like, if you fall in love with your solution, someone else comes along and can repeat it, and if you can't differentiate yourself from that one solution, which happens in business all the time, then you failed. Like, it just happens. Like, great businesses with great leadership fail because someone else came in and did it better because they fell in love with the problem instead of their solution. Like, if you'll figure out what it is, because it'll be the thing that keeps you up at night, that you are drawn to in a good way. And you know, I think one thing, like, that is my tip, that wasn't even my tip, that, for one, just thinking about the problem, right? But my tip is, like, think in context to what you love most, which is obviously your family. It's not you talked so highly of them in just the short, like, moments that you did, and that's where you'll start seeing all kinds of things appear. I promise you. You're gonna be like, why is it that way? That's so dumb. Like, and it'll be simple things. It could be a product. It could be your wife walking through the door and being like, I can't hold, like, have you seen this before? I've seen this device. Like, you can't hold more. I don't know if this is the story of how they invented this device, but somebody's invented a device that holds more grocery bags than, like, locked up in your fingers. Like, I've seen that before, right? Maybe on Shark Tank or something. And I don't remember the story of this individual, but, like, I would bet money that the story was something like, my fingers hurt, and they're like, that shouldn't be that way. And then they developed some stupid little plastic thing, and it wasn't that they were in love with plastic molds for fingers.
Thank you so much for saying that, because I know what that feels. I've had that feeling a couple times with certain things, and I just, it's like they weren't the most healthiest things, and so I can tell.
Yeah.
But there's things that have kept me up at night, and I wanted to just, like, pour my ambition into it, but I feel it, like, just wasn't quite right. Like, I'm like, it's just, like, too much risk, or there's too much.
The thing is,
too much time away from the family. It just wasn't going to be a good fit. Like,
exactly.
Thank you so much.
And there's high risk. That's a reality of playing a game like this, but it's calculated risk, and risk is like leverage. Like, you can risk. And that's the reason why, that's what I had said to you, like, about, for me and my specific journey and what I've specifically been doing and not having dependence. That, for me, is part of the risks I take, right? Of course. But that doesn't mean that, like, that's my story, because I'm doing totally different thing than you, and I'm at a different stage of the game, in a lot of ways. You have a family, I don't. I have, like, a bunch of art that I'm trying to figure out how to get people to buy from me. You might not. You have a bunch of funding. I don't. We're in different parts of the game, so it looks different at all different parts. And that's the silly part about comparison. It's the thief of joy. It doesn't serve us. Like, it doesn't help. It just is like another way for our brain to tell us we're not good enough, and that's so dumb. And that's what we're learning.
Distraction, the bullshit you were talking about.
Exactly. And so that's the thing. Like, when I have pencils and pens and paint in my hands, I don't think about the bullshit. And so figuring out the ways to get paid for that, that's what I figure out, and the challenge of figuring out, okay, if I can, it's the difference between, and now I'm just getting passionate about my own craft, but, like, bear with me a second before I say goodnight, I swear. But, like, it's the difference between getting passionate about drawing on a piece of paper and looking at that piece of paper and being like, I can sell this piece of paper. And then looking at that piece of paper and being like, I could sell this piece of paper a lot of times. And then looking at that piece of paper and being like, if I write something or draw something that provides value to like another brand, I could sell that paper to that brand, and then I could sell it for a lot more money. And then I could sell that duplicated for a lot more money because I could do that recurring for them, and then thinking through all the different ways that I can take that pen and paper and make it have a return on investment for me. That's the point of it all, and so, but still at the end of it, even if all of that other bullshit doesn't work, I'm gonna draw a little doodle on the paper, and it's going to make me really happy.
Yeah, you were enjoying that whole process regardless of whether or not you get a sale or...
It's the goosebumps. It gives me goosebumps.
Oh, so cool. So cool.
But, so that's the thing. It's what is your drawing on paper?
Yeah.
And maybe that's teaching your daughter something. Or maybe it's just the thing that you've, starting to look at yourself really objectively too. Look back at your posts, look at the things that have gotten engagements, get on all of the social media platforms that you feel comfortable using, pay attention to the insights, and just start see if you notice trends. Maybe when you post a selfie, you have the most trends. That's usually the case because people want to see a person's face. Or maybe you have and then it's also just encouraging you to post more organic content too, repost a bunch of shit, but post your own shit, even if it's a sandwich. You never know, that's the thing. Do you follow, you're on LinkedIn, right? So do you follow Nick I always butcher his last name, Mariotis? He's the SVP at VaynerMedia.
Maybe, but is he the guy that runs the Sasha group? That was always
no, that's James Orsini. I literally have their whole company studied at this point. It's Mioritis. I think it sounds kind of Greek. Let's see if he doesn't have the audio thing on his profile. He gets really great engagement on posts he does all the time. You want to know what he does? He flips eggs in a frying pan. Okay? It's so random. It has nothing to do with his job. It doesn't matter. He gets engagement doing it. That's the only thing. It's not about the quality of content even all of the time. It's literally just how well do you market it. He does it all of the time. He does ridiculous things. He dresses up. He puts bunches of eggs in his pants. So clearly that's the thing he just did. He must eat a lot of eggs and want to do that. But you know what's funny? I noticed that he has received frying pans from brands and stuff. He likes football, so he built a little field goal and flipped an egg through it to catch it. He gets his family involved, does a pancake every once in a while.
If you message me his name, I would love to.
I will.
Absorbing his. That's so cool. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely, and it's just it's fun. It just makes me smile so big because that's what when I said don't underestimate the power of branding, of just putting stuff out there and being yourself. That's what I mean, because you could interact with tons of people just by doing random shit like that and just documenting and putting it out there and using a few hashtags and thinking thoughtfully, what hashtags would I use for this? Who do I follow? Who do I know? And what maybe would help them? And then all of a sudden, you're just creating content for yourself. And all along that, your experience is being heightened. You're making new friends. You're sharing ideas with people. You're not feeling as isolated. You're realizing, a lot of people are going through this, or we are friends now, those kinds of things where I can send you Nick's name and he can talk about something you care about and all kinds of shit. And he will talk about stuff you would care about because he is the one that's in charge of VaynerMedia's market. He's the one that have you seen the Baby Peanut commercials at all?
Of course, yes.
He's that guy. So that is gonna excite you and stuff. That's my thing. It's these people are here. Like, just talk to people. Like, talk to us. Talk to me. Like, talk to, you know, like, and all of those, and that comes with a level of bravery, but that will lead you, then you have a community, then you've talked to a bunch of people, and then finally you realize, like, I want to make that plastic thing to help my daughter's plastic fingers or something, you know, it's so random. And then you have people to tell about it to, or tell it to.
My brain has like gone through like already like at least 4 or 5 different things that I can like in terms of
write them down, like tell people.
We're doing homeschool with Avery this year because all the schools are closed. And, like,
exactly.
We brought in 3 of her friends, and like my wife is a teacher, so it worked out perfect. So we're getting a little income from the other families. Like
well, tell me what you think art-wise would be helpful, because that's something I've been tapping into, and I'm just honestly in a place where I'm still gathering information to see how I can provide the most value to people, because Zoom is difficult. It's difficult to know like what helps, but like one thing I'm starting is coloring pages. Like I'm doing a lead magnet of like, a lead magnet is like a free thing that I would give away to people. And so I'm doing a lead magnet of like adult coloring pages of just some like black and white stuff. And that's something I just did yesterday. So it's like kind of new, but maybe that would help families just, and you know, like thinking about stuff in terms of like what I can do as well, because I'm interested in helping however I can. I've got a children's book out on Amazon and a couple of other things.
Very cool. Yeah, Jess is my wife, and she has an early childhood development degree. But like, just something I noticed right when we kind of finally made the final call, like we're gonna do homeschool with Avery. Like Jess already had like this program that she was like already really liked. Like she liked the way the lessons were and everything. Like she already had that eyed out for Avery.
Nice.
So like it's just like I was so fascinated. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so lucky that I have a wife that like.
Absolutely.
Like he's willing to say,
and that's the thing is like maybe your thing is thinking in terms of her too. Like, okay, how do we get her? What was your wife's name again?
Jessica.
Okay, Jessica. Yeah, like maybe your thing is like, how do we legitimize Jessica's efforts? Like they've been so amazing. Like we're looking at these returns and stuff. And I'm sure they have been. And so many families don't have that right now. So even if it's just in terms of like the parents at Avery's school, like you've got to be able to get access to that list, you know, and like posting videos, like maybe you fall in love with creating content and you're recording the way that Jessica works with Avery and the other families, you know, stuff like that, where it's like you're getting more involved in your family process, like you're doing something that makes you feel like you're contributing to that, you're validating your wife's efforts, like you're helping your daughter learn, you're becoming a part of that experience. Like that's something that's so, you'll never get that chance again, you know?
Yeah, you're saying like, that's so cool.
No, this is making my heart burst. I'm like, do it, Dave, do it.
I know, it's like, sometimes it's like, at this moment, I'm like, dang, there's not enough hours in the day, I just want to get going, but now it's like,
of course.
I know it's kind of a late for you, so I definitely
and I do. So I'm gonna go, but I'm really glad we had this conversation. I'm happy. I like whenever a 15-minute turns into 47-minute and it ends up like this. I'm so happy that we have connected.
Yeah, me too. Well, have a great night. You've given me so much valuable information, so thank you so much.
Awesome, and thank you. And you know what's cool is that I had it live, so you can watch the playback if you want to gain other information.
I totally would. I mean, there was moments I'm like, dang it, like I don't want to forget that. But yeah, thank you so much.
Well, I don't know how good the audio will be, but having it on in the background, I'll send you the link that you can see it on, and LinkedIn. I have approved for LinkedIn Live, so it would have gone through that channel too. So you could probably reshare it if you want. But regardless, we'll figure that out later.
Okay, sounds like a plan. And have a great night. I'll talk to you soon.
I hope you have a good night too. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Wonderful. Okay, back to business. Not that wasn't business, but Okay. Entertainment, marketing agencies. Entertainment marketing agencies. What was the last one that I was thinking about? Oh, I think that was just the third. Sports art. Boom. Boom. Siri, define B to C.
Here's what I found.
The actual definition of B to C. So I've heard different things. B to C marketing. No. B to C. That's what I thought. Where's my protractor, damn it? Where'd the protractor go, damn it? I'll just use the side of a pen. Run out on me now. Make that an insight. I'm going to have my show notes for the conversation. Okay. Damn, really thinking hard on this one. I am here to expand revenue base. Okay, expand revenue base. What else am I here to do? Attracting customers. Okay.
What's an image I can use for roadshow that's not specific? I have to get a picture.
Thank God that page is over with. That took me long enough. Okay. The rest I'm going to do through the map. Yeah. Good night.